Welcome back to another episode of the Creative Chronicles podcast. This week, I got a chance to sit down with my friend and fellow creative Shanti Grossman of A Brighter Year. What started out as a side hustle has turned into a viral mental health tool with simple bite-sized coloring books for adults designed to reduce stress and bring daily joy. Who doesn't want more of that in your life, right? You will definitely hear the spark when two extroverted creatives get a chance to catch up. In this episode, Shanti is sharing her journey from a musical upbringing and a musical industry career, launching into other product-based businesses before she has niched down on her success with A Brighter Year. Her honest reflections about business pivots, viral TikTok success, and learning to scale are so full of wisdom for creatives and entrepreneurs alike. I will be honest, every time I talk to Shanti, I always walk away feeling so inspired, and I really think that you're going to feel it too. So whether you're in the messy middle trying to figure out what's next for you, or if you just need a good laugh today, then I think you're going to find something in this episode. So without further ado, let's get started. Good morning.
Hi.
We get a chance to actually be on a video call together. This is kind of cool.
Yeah, I feel like as someone who audio messages as my primary form of communication, it's like, oh, look, there's a face.
For those that are listening, I have Shanti from A Brighter Year with me, and we happen to know each other, and we happen to live in the same city here in Austin, but are on a video chat today. Do you want to explain why we're on a video chat instead of face-to-face?
Oh, because we live like what feels like 75 miles away from each other, even though it's what, like maybe 10? I don't know.
Maybe 10. But Austin traffic is a real thing. And if you're here, you know, you don't go north or south if you don't have to.
No, it's like I try to make my commute as small as possible to the point that I bought a office 3 blocks from my house. So I just walk there.
Gosh. We think about that, like when we've thought about moving north. And then Josh is like, but then you would be far away from the studio. And I'm like, yeah, we can't do that. Like, I need to zip over here if I have to check the kiln, like happenstance in the middle of the night. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, see, I told you right off the bat, this is what we're doing.
Squirrels,
shiny object, small business owners. Well, for anyone that's out there that doesn't know who you are, I wanted to give you a chance just to introduce yourself.
Perfect. I'm Shanti. I'm the founder and CEO of A Brighter Year, and we're best known for our simple and easy mini coloring books for adults, but we offer like all sorts of fun, like creative and coloring products for adults.
Wow. Okay. I can't wait to get into so many questions. I feel like my brain is kind of overthinking already ahead, but we're going to start with just some basics that I don't even know, but I feel like I do. Have you always been creative?
Yes, I've always been creative. I remember when I was like, I don't know, maybe like 7 or 8, I had like sent in this drawing to like this little address in the back of like a highlights magazine or something. And someone like came to our house and like pitched my parents on like how talented I was and how I could enroll in this art school and all these things. I mean, thinking back to that is messed up, first of all. Can you imagine if like some middle-aged dude came into your house and was like, your 8-year-old daughter's really talented? Like, no. Okay, yeah. So I really like drawing. I've always loved coloring. So that's kind of how we got here. But more than that, I was raised in a musical family, and my degree is actually in music business. So like I went to college on a music scholarship. I always sang, I played piano, I danced, played French horn, like all of the music things was actually my strong suit. And then like the arts and crafts was like the fun side projects.
That's awesome. Were your parents creative as well?
Yeah. So my dad originally went to school, Berklee College of Music for guitar performance, and he still plays guitar like to this day. He's now retired and he told me the other day that he plays like, I think 4 to 5 hours a day. He's like practicing now.
Wow.
So he still plays guitar. But most of my life, he was a chiropractor and an acupuncturist. But even then, like he was playing every day, playing gigs on the weekends, all this stuff. My mom was a high school music teacher most of my life. Before that, she was a music therapist. My sister has a degree in musical theater, and she is now an artistic director of a theater in Washington, D.C. So yes,
Wow.
there's a lot.
There's a lot of like musical art talent then in your family. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So with that, did you ever think that you were going to be doing what you're doing now as an artist?
No, I mean, I remember not knowing what I wanted to do like when I went to college. I know that I didn't want to sit in a cubicle, which was like my main thing. I was like, I talked to a lot of like career people. I also knew I didn't want to do performance. Like that was always like my sister's thing. So that's when I had a couple people say, I think music business is like the path you should take. It's very it's like very music focused, but it's more like on the business side. And I actually look back a lot and I think like the first 10 years that I spent in the music industry, it like taught me so much. I mean, I have half of my degree is music and half of it's business. So like I had all of my basic business classes, which so many people don't have. And I feel like everyone should have basic business classes. It's just like a life skill I feel like everyone should have. So I had all my basic business classes, but that first 10 years, like it taught me a lot about like marketing, hustle, the grit, just continually going nonstop and adapting really quickly and always being on the go, like being on tour a lot and just having to like roll with things as they like opportunities came at you and so many things. So like I learned so much from that time in my life that has really helped me get to where I am now. When we decided we wanted to have kids, previous to that, I was on the road touring with bands like significant amount of my year. And I actually had talked to a couple different tour managers that were female. There's not very many of them, but I had talked to like the 3 that there were. And the one that I sat down with the longest was I had actually booked a show with Blues Traveler.
No
so
way.
I was with them all day and their tour manager, and she happens to be a female. And so I like just had an opportunity to like, I had access to her all day. So I really just was like, hey, what, like, do you recommend this? Like, how is it with kids? Like, who's doing this? And she was just so open. She was like, listen, there's a couple women that do it, but it's so hard. And so you really have to decide like what kind of mom you want to be. And there's no judgment. If you want to be the mom that's on tour all the time, like that's fine. But if you don't want to be that, it's really, really hard. And so at that point I was like, well, no, I don't want to have kids to be gone 8 months out of the year.
Yeah.
And so I switched into just other forms of entrepreneurship. So I first had a product-based business that I hand embroidered shoes, was not scalable. The first time I went viral, I say viral because it was on Tumblr, which
Stop.
Yeah.
Tumblr. Oh my God.
And I remember getting 25 orders for shoes in like 2 hours and thinking like, I cannot embroider that fast. Like there's no way. And no one else would work for the amount of money that I was working for. So I was like really stuck. So I learned a lot about scaling businesses there. Then I went on, opened a business with a business partner called Party at Your Door. We made custom handmade party decorations. It was scalable. That went on for 10 years. I'm in the process of selling that business for the next 5 years. I'm like a passive manager, but I've sold it to another person. Like she can come talk to me about problems. I oversee things. I help her. And at the end of 5 years, it'll be completely transferred to her. And then, so then this is my third product-based business that I have. And I think all the pieces just aligned to make this one the biggest, maybe. I don't know. A little bit of luck and a lot of hard work all aligned.
That makes so much, knowing you now and knowing where you are in your business and hearing your backstory makes so much sense. Like it really all set you up for the success that you're having right now. And we're going to get into it. But for those that don't know, Brighter Year has been hugely successful, TikTok sensation, Instagram sensation, all of the things. So it makes sense. And this is what I love hearing, because I think people just often look at people that are doing so well and they're just like, oh, it happened overnight. And you're like, I have been hustling for 20 years in some ways, different forms, and it just all came into alignment right now. Like that's a testament that sometimes it does happen overnight, but it doesn't always, especially in the art community, I think, in the maker community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I learned a lot from every business that I opened and either closed or sold. I learned a lot to make the next one like better in some way, right? Mm-hmm. Or more of what I wanted for the next stage of my life. I remember listening to a podcast that someone said on average, it's the person's 10th business that is actually successful.
Wow.
And I remember for a long time in my life, it was like a joke that I like started businesses. I mean, not like a joke, but like I was starting a lot of businesses, especially in the music industry. It was kind of the way that was set up too, but like you had to have a different business name for like different services that you offered. And so I remember being at one point being like, why do I open so many businesses? Like, why am I starting so many businesses? And kind of feeling like a failure. And then when I heard that, I was like, oh, it's because as a constant, like lifelong learner, I'm always learning, I'm always tweaking, and also knowing when to shut the door and move on, right? Like if that's not serving you anymore, if that's not working, if that's broken, like that's fine to let it go and take what you learned and start something new, right? Yeah, I also remember listening to the podcast, How I Built This. I think it's still on, but I used to listen to it
I love him.
all day, every day. And, you know, one of the questions that he asks
You need to
often,
manifest that, like that you're on his podcast. Let's just go ahead and do that right
Okay,
now in this
perfect.
space. Okay.
I remember that he used to ask, or maybe he still does, about was it hard work or luck that got you to where you are? He asked something along those lines. And, you know, so many people were like, well, it was a combination of both. Like it was a lot of hard work and a little bit of luck. And then I was able to like capture that and then make it something bigger. And I absolutely feel like that is what happened to me, which we can talk about how and why that happened at whenever you want to, about TikTok and why it took off so fast.
Yeah. No, and you're bringing up, like you saying this brings up so much for me. Recently, I was just talking to my staff about, you know, past career things that I had done. And I was telling all these stories, and I kind of bounced around a lot, like in jobs. And I was like 6 months at a job and I was like, it's not for me. I'm going to go somewhere else. And was just going through the list. I'm not going to go through it here before even getting into pottery. And they were just like looking at me like with these eyes, just kind of like, holy cow. And I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. I started something, I realized it wasn't for me, jumped to the next thing. And it's only been since I've been with like entrepreneurship now, and especially ceramics and what I'm doing currently, that I've stuck with it. Like it finally is stuck. And I could do this for forever now, but I had to go through a lot of different paths to get there. I wouldn't be doing this the same if I was doing this at 26.
Oh,
like it wouldn't be what it is. I think you could say the same.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think sometimes I would self-reflect during those times as like a failure, because I feel like our parents' generation and our grandparents' generation, they would start a job and they would work there for 40 years, right? They'd have their retirement package, they'd have all their benefits, they had all their things, and then they would retire. And that was like, our generation is so different in that like, and I feel like the younger generations are even more different in that like, we realize like, I hope that we're just not put on this earth to like work at a job that we hate, right? And I know that comes from a place of privilege, because I know there's a lot of people who don't have that option. I understand that. But I also feel like there's so many people that are like, like so a firm believer that like, if you love something and you're really good at it, it doesn't matter what it is. I remember driving through a Taco Bell, and the person who took my order was so happy and she was so good. And just like everything, my order was, you know, not easy. I'm a hard to feed. And
For those that don't know, Shanti's a dietary. She's a picky one.
This is probably 15 years ago. And I still think about that lady. I was like, she was so good at her job and she was having so much fun. And she was like, and I love that for her, right? Doesn't matter where you are, who you are, what you're doing. If it makes you happy and you're good at it, like do that. That's amazing.
Yeah, if you can. But even just with the simplest things, I have the quote it's on the back of the bathroom door, because I feel like that's like where you have to like look all the time. And it's a chalkboard and it says, happiness is a choice. Happiness is a choice. We make a choice every single day. We can have a bad moment, but then you have a choice to turn it around, or to look at the world differently, or to have one little piece of gratitude or anything like that. It's our choice. Like nobody can take that away from us. And so I think you've definitely done that now with A Brighter Year, and what you've created both your physical product, but then also just the whole community and energy behind it is just, I mean, it is a brighter year. You're trying to bring that joy and that peace to people. So let's talk a little bit about your designs, because you have a very distinct design aesthetic, and it's a very simple, playful design aesthetic. Was that intentional or is that evolved?
So it was intentional, but it has also evolved. So the whole reason I started A Brighter Year is I'd always loved coloring, but traditional adult coloring books, they had gotten to the point where they actually were stressing me out more than like relaxing me. I wasn't finding them enjoyable anymore, because coloring a page in a traditional adult coloring book would take hours and hours, and they required a lot of decisions. They required a lot of organization, because it was like, okay, this, let's say like this specific leaf shape shows up in all these different parts of this beautiful illustration. Like me being me, I'm like, okay, well, I want that specific leaf to have the same shade of green through the entire page, right? But I couldn't even finish that specific leaf in a sitting. So I would like, then you'd have to like keep your markers organized and make sure they didn't go back. And like, it was just, anyway, was not for me. So ironically, I was at a time where I had 2 kids under 2. I was working full time, and I needed that creative outlet more than ever in my life. And I couldn't find anything that fit into my lifestyle, that didn't take a lot of time or a lot of money. 2 things that you don't have when you have little kids. And so I started creating coloring books that were bite-sized pieces of coloring, simple and easy, and like just bite-sized. So we even have some books that are 8x10 that are like full illustrations, but even those are broken up to color just one little piece of the page every single day. Like we give you a guide, just like color. Mm-hmm. So you only color one piece of the page a single day. So if you are on the April page, it would be numbered 1 through 30. So you'd only color number 1 on April 1st, 2 on April 2nd, and by April 30th, you have a full page. That's how A Brighter Year started. It was calendar based, which is actually why it's called A Brighter Year. So that's where we started. What I had found was a lot of people were coming to me and saying like, I love the bite-sized coloring, but I want to do it on my own terms. So like sometimes I'll be listening to a podcast and I'll want to sit down and I want to color 15 pages, like mini little bits. And other days, I just want to color one little thing. So then the first mini coloring book I ever created, I actually pulled a lot of the art and graphics out of our larger books, the things that people already knew and loved. And I created a mini coloring book. And then the mini coloring books are what actually took off. I created A Brighter Year thinking I was going to create like an arts and crafts tool and product that like fit into the busy lifestyle. But what happened was we accidentally created a mental health tool. So about 95+% of the people who color in our coloring books tell me that they use them as like a mental health tool for anxiety, depression, OCD, stress relief, so many other things. And I think that has become the most powerful thing, is like hearing these real life stories of people who are using these to better themselves. And that is what keeps me coming to work every day and continuing to like create and make more products and provide more for the community.
That's beautiful. That became bigger than what you probably ever thought it would serve, I guess, in the community.
Absolutely. And it's not what we sought out. It's what we just have heard back over and over and over again. And so I think it was actually, I heard it so often that I started doing like reverse research. I didn't know all the research on coloring and how it puts your brain in the same like beta waves as meditation. Wow. I didn't know about how like when you complete something, which for us, it's a mini coloring book page, the reward part of your brain that gives you like a little hit of like happy chemicals. It's like, oh, hey, good job for completing something. I didn't know all of the science was like behind these things. And then I had to learn it. And now I'm like, okay, this is why everyone loves these. So then now we can like replicate it and make sure that we never go too far from what our customers like need and want from our products.
So many great points in there for makers or just anyone out there, which you do such a good job of. And maybe this is like from your background, is listening to your customers and then figuring out how you can tweak that and then make it part of your brand, part of your voice, part of your marketing, but then your product, so that you're delivering back something that people are actually asking for. And I think so many artists, sometimes we get caught up in, no, we have this idea and we have this vision, and people might say things, but we don't really take it into account because we're just like tunnel vision. No, this is what I want to do. And I think it's like this, so important to listen and then understand that a little bit more so that now you're able to provide something that's just far beyond what you ever thought a calendar was going to do.
Right. Yeah, I have like one newsletter that I read just like religiously, and he talks a lot, like his main focus is CEOs of product-based businesses, which there's not very many people that talk specifically to us. So when you find someone that does, you're like, I love you for always and ever. And he was saying the other
So
day,
true.
one of the things that he finds so powerful is customer feedback. Like it can really drag you down. Like every day there's hundreds of thousands of comments and reviews and emails and customer service requests, and all those things. And he said, your job as a CEO is not to react to what people are saying. It's to listen and absorb and truly understand. So like everyone might be coming at me and saying, we want a cat's coloring book. Don't come at me. I know you all want a cat's coloring book.
She said it here, y'all. She said it here.
But like I also look and there's hundreds of cat coloring books. So do we really need another cat coloring book? Ironically, we're working on a cat coloring book right now, but only because
maybe there's others, but they're not yours.
They're not ours. No, we had a cat nonprofit come forward. They were a longtime customer and they're like, would you like to collaborate? And I was like, my cat people are finally going to, because this is a cause I can get behind.
Yes, that's awesome.
Anyway, so yeah, he was just saying how powerful it is to actually be able to listen and hear from your customers. But it doesn't always mean that you just have to like jump and provide them what they want right then. But like listen to all of it and try to figure out, why are we getting this feedback? What is this feedback for? Can we address it in a way? And it's not always the way they want it to be addressed, but sometimes it's a better way to address it.
So good. Okay, so exciting. Let's go back. Design wise, is that all of like everything coming out of your brain?
Not anymore.
Wow.
Now there's too many of us. So
okay, that's awesome.
I have.
But when you started, it was your kind of doodles, your brain.
Yeah, because it was like my side hustle.
Okay.
Ugh, remember when this is just a side hustle?
She says with a twitch like in her eye for those of you who are listening.
So the first one was based off art from another book. And then we did like a couple other ones that were very specific to things that I thought were like kind of like very generic that a lot of people would like. And those two books are actually still to this day our top sellers. Birds, Bugs, and Botany and Tiny Eats and Treats. From there, we now have 16 different mini coloring books. We have more, like they're constantly coming out. But now I have about 5 different illustrators that I work with. So I come to them with a really strong vision, a list of items that like most of our books are under a theme. So it's really easy for me to come to them and be like, all right, we need 50 pages of illustrations. I'm going to give you a list of 100 different things. I'm going to send you a bunch of descriptions, photos, things that like the look and feel that we're going for. And then I meet with them on a weekly basis to be like, yes, I like that. No, I don't like that. Let's switch this a little bit. I've had one book that's been in the work for, I'm not joking you, 2 years, and we're getting almost close.
Wow.
It's the longest one because it's never been authentic, and I've never been able to capture how I want it to be captured. And so most time we can just like crank them out so fast. But this one, I've really had to like work to get it correct, but I think we're getting close. And so the things that stay consistent in all of our books are the line weight, which means they're really bold lines and they're really simple illustrations. They have to be able to be colored in 3 to 5 minutes. They have to be easy to color inside the line, and they have to have just a couple colors on the page. So I don't want someone sitting down and looking at a page and being like, I have to choose 15 colors to color this page. Like, no, that's not for my people. If that is you, there's hundreds of thousands of coloring books made for you out there. Like, go find those people and support them. They're amazing. They're not for me and my people.
But that's so good that you've honed in who your customer is, which I would say is probably similar to you, right? Like they're busy. They want that little bit of mental health relaxation to be able to color and then get on with their day. And I would say that that's so many people that listen here too. We're busy people, but we also enjoy having that moment to just relax.
Yeah. So our target demographic is 22 to 54 women that are either moms working in corporate America or moms working in corporate America. So any of that combination. And actually the large majority of our customers are either clinically diagnosed or self-diagnosed neurodivergent in some way. So ADHD, ADHD, autism, that whole neurodivergent community. And then the other ones are just stressed out, overworked, overstimulated. So
So it's
we
like
may
every
or may
woman.
not be diagnosed, you know? I mean, I've been through a lot of therapy. I've taken all the autism and ADHD tests, and she's like, no, you're neurotypical. And I'm like, but am I? Am I?
I'm here to tell you you're not. And you can say the same for me. It's just where we're at right now.
The last test she had me take, she was like, well, you know, Shanti, sometimes people just fall outside the textbook diagnosis of any of these neurodivergent things.
Hey there, plant lovers. Meet the succulent that's impossible to kill, our lighted ceramic cactus trees. They plug into a regular outlet, and once you turn them on, they're there to brighten your space. Think office, dorm, or even kitchen decor. Choose from over 20 different colors and customizable light combinations that you can add to your little cactus and keep it up year-round, including little bows, heart-shaped lights, spooky, and even a patriotic theme for 4th of July. Available in 3 different sizes, you're sure to find your perfect match. Give it as a gift or keep it for yourself. We won't judge. Plus, use code podcast at checkout to get 15% off your next order, an exclusive discount you won't find anywhere else. So head over to brushstrokespottery.com and grab your little cactus today. Happy shopping! Gosh, yeah. You know what I enjoy? I enjoy just even watching you color. When you pop up in my feed, that makes me just stop, which I'm sure you hear from so many people. Which now I'm like, oh my God, I need to get all the coloring books from you because it's kind of like sad that I don't have them. It's just kind of life. But I love the ones that are like the desk little calendar. So it's like each day you have something for the day that you can just like easily sit down and color. And maybe that's the first thing you do when you get into work or you get up, or maybe you take a break during the middle of the day, you know, if you're a stay-at-home mom or something, and you can just do that and then move on with your day and have that, you're right, like meditation part.
Yeah. So the daily desk calendars, they only come in our subscription box because they're calendar based. So those are delivered like quarterly. And that was a very strategic move because I had a lot of people that were asking for a different take on a calendar instead of our 8x10 larger calendars. So I had a lot of people requesting like a different take on a calendar. So I was like, okay, desk calendar. Also at that time, like almost all of our sales were coming from TikTok. And when TikTok, the ban controversy first started, I was like, I have to diversify my revenue streams like so fast. And I needed to figure out a product that was enticing enough and good enough and different enough that it would get people to move from TikTok to my website. Also at the same time, from like a very strategic business move, I was trying to get out of this virality cycle of sales, which I didn't realize how much anxiety it was causing me and how horrible of like a mental state it was in until we have the same business coach, until she was like, oh, I get it now. She was like, because you have no foundation in what you can expect from your sales. So like we would come in one day and we would have 200 orders. We'd come in the next day, we'd have 1,800 orders, and then it would be like 300, and then it'd be like 600. And like you didn't have any consistency because you were just like, what's going to go viral today? Not only what we would go viral, but then there were tons of affiliates and you never knew if any of them were going viral. And sometimes that was actually scarier because like we would be watching our own content. So I'd be like, you know, like we didn't have, like it was fine yesterday, but then we'd still come in the next day and it'd be like a huge, and then we'd have to like go in and try to be like, okay, who's going viral? What's happening? You know, to help kind of plan how to deal with those things. All very good problems to have, you guys. Very good problems to have. But at the time it happened so quickly that it was a lot. And so part of the thing was if we have a subscription box, it was a product that would bring people off TikTok, it would get them on our website, but it also was sales that were like repeating. So they were like really what we refer to as grounded sales that like we knew we were going to come in, we could plan on, and it would really help like the financial side of the business to shift and grow from there as well.
So much great stuff that I want to dig in here too. Wonderful things, obviously. That's what I think most makers aspire to do, right? The virality. It's like what everybody seems to be chasing right now. Let's go back and talk about how you started using social media. Were you always using it like as soon as you started Brighter Year? Were you always like posting videos of coloring from the get-go?
Yes. So when I was doing all the marketing for Party at Your Door, our largest social platform was actually Pinterest.
Okay.
I was also doing Instagram and we were doing other platforms too, but Pinterest was our biggest driver of revenue. But I was like pretty well versed in social media. When I started doing A Brighter Year, I started leaning into Instagram. Later, I did TikTok. And then now we do all of the platforms. So we do Pinterest, we do YouTube Shorts, we do Instagram, TikTok's our main platform. Amazon has its own social platform. We do that. Like there's LinkedIn. We do all the things. Different ways, but we do all the things. So I'd always created content. And I was mostly focusing on Instagram. I wasn't having a lot of success. I switched over to TikTok and things were easier over there. It was easier to get a lot of views.
Okay.
And so I kind of like just played around for a little bit. But then I was like, I think if I have the potential of growing a big community, I think it's going to be on TikTok, not Instagram. So I had listened to a podcast that said, if you post on TikTok 3 times a day for 90 days, that's what it takes for TikTok to learn where to put you in the algorithm. That's the most.
This was when? This was like
2023.
Okay.
So the first time we went viral was July 21st of 2023. And it was like right at the end of that 90 days. And that was just a complete coincidence.
Wow.
I'd kind of switched to really focusing on TikTok for 3 posts a day for 90 days. Just like as a CEO and entrepreneur, that's actually something that I really live by, that like, if you're going to try something, go all in and give it your all, like best practices, like all the things for 90 days and then reassess. So like, this is something I've lived by. So I went all in for 90 days, 3 posts a day. It was right at the end of that 90 days that I had gotten accepted to TikTok Shop. At that time, TikTok Shop was a super beta. Like it was so hard. I actually tried for, I think about 3 months to even get on TikTok Shop. There was nowhere to upload my documents. I couldn't talk to anybody about why my documents, I mean, it was a mess, but I finally got approved on July 20th, got all of our listings set up. July 21st, I was at Playland Skates with my kids, roller skating. They were starting school the next day. So it was their last day of summer. And I was with my friend Megan and I looked at my phone and I was like, that's weird. A Brighter Year just had 5 orders. Like that was unheard of at that time for A Brighter Year to have 5 orders. This was my side hustle to like my main business that was like, just going, right? And then I looked down and I was like, there's 12 new orders. I mean, it was happening that fast. And then I was like, swiped them off. And I was like, there's 8 new orders. And then at this point I was like,
right? like, wait, they're ordering. They're
I'm
ordering.
like, wait, I think something's happening. So we pulled open TikTok and the first video I posted after getting on TikTok Shop, it was at like 1.6 million. And I was like, oh,
holy cow.
Gee. So it happened really fast. But why I say it was like, I was kind of at the right place at the right time. Like at that point, TikTok Shop, I was a really early adapter. I worked so hard to get on the platform. It wasn't easy. I could have walked away 100 times. I was so persistent, talking to customer service every day, emailing the next person up in the chain. Like, how do I get approved? How do I get approved? Got on. This was right at the end of the 90 days of me doing 3 posts a day. TikTok Shop was so beta. There were just not a lot of sellers. And there was a lot of money being dumped into TikTok Shop from the TikTok side because it was a new program for them and they wanted it to be a success. So that content was being pushed from their side. It was all organic content, but they were pushing to like shops. And the saddest thing, and I talk to people in TikTok all the time. Like I fly all over to go to all their offices. I talk to people all, like
for reference now, we'll get into it, but Shanti's like in the club now.
So, and just literally last week when I was in LA and I was saying like, I still think back to when shop first started, and so many small businesses shut down their TikTok shop because they could not handle the success. They could not handle the amount of orders. They didn't have processes set up. They didn't have staff. They didn't have manufacturing. They didn't have all those things.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
Like,
and
I'm one
so
of them.
I was at a place where like I had an entire staff for another business, and it was our slow season, and I like shifted them. I already understood manufacturing. They and myself already understood how to pack and ship orders in bulk. We understood how to print off shipping labels in bulk. Like those things sound simple, but they're not. And until you know how to do them in mass, like quickly, they can really just like throw everything sideways. So I had all of that in place to help me, but so many shops were just closing down. Where I, on the other hand, was like, yes, yes, yes. It was shortly after that that I did get a business coach because I needed one. I was in a place where like I didn't know what was happening. Everything was happening so quickly, and I didn't want it to stop, and I didn't want to fail, but I also needed guidance and help to try to figure out like how to even be this level of business owner. I mean, we went from in 2022, we did $18,000 in revenue.
Wow.
By 2023, we were in the top 2% of all female founded companies in America for the amount of revenue we were doing. So like it happened really, really quickly. And so when I was actually talking to my business coach at that time, she had said like the first time I joined a mastermind and got a business coach, I was having anxiety attacks because my business was so successful that like it was all I ever wanted was to have a successful business. And I had a successful business and I didn't know what to do. I felt so alone. I was having anxiety attacks, like leaving my house and walking out behind into my yard and having like full on panic attacks. I was just like, I'm in. Like, it was like a webinar and I was like, take all of my money, like sign me up. Can I be first? And then they were like, okay, we need a 50% deposit. And so I paid it. And then I emailed them and I was like, take the other 50%. Like, don't kick me out.
I need you. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I think this is telling and showing that you have a unique ability to, I would say, trust your gut and know when you're not ready to give up on something or that you know that there's more still to come. And how do you stay with that and not quit or not go, oh my God, I can't figure this out? Because I think so many people in social media, I mean, and makers are like, oh my gosh, yeah, I can't do all the things. That's too hard. So I'm just like not even going to try. Won't even do the 30-day trial period. So like how have you developed that mindset that you are willing to stay in that 90-day trial period or listen to your gut to keep going?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that it's only 90 days is what does keep me going. Like I know at the end of 90 days, if this isn't working, I can be like, peace, we're done. Well, we might circle back later. And we still do this to this day. We went all in for 90 days. When I brought on a full-time marketing person, we went all in for 90 days for all the platforms. We reassessed and we were like, listen, this platform is not bringing in the views the other one. I don't think we need to do four posts a day. For YouTube Shorts, we went from doing 4 posts a day to 2 posts a day. And overall, doing 2 posts a day, we have more views on 2 posts than we had on 4 posts. So like, and that's just an example. Pinterest for this business does not work for us. People do not go to Pinterest to shop for coloring books. Also, I have a very low price point. I'm an impulse purchase. Our mini coloring books are $8. You can buy bundles for $20. Most people that see our products are like, yes, I want that, buy. I'm not one of those products that's like hundreds of dollars that I'm like, do I want to, should I? Like, I have to be retargeted a bunch of times before I'm finally like, fine, okay. I'll buy this thing.
Which is where I feel like I'm at. I'm in that realm of like, people need to see it again. They need to see it styled. And then they're like, okay, purchase. You're on the other side. Yeah.
Yes. And so Pinterest didn't work for us because like, I didn't need them to pin it to a board and be like, oh, I should come back to this later. Like people just aren't like that with an $8 item. They just want to buy it. What we did find on Pinterest for us was that there was a path forward for us, but it was paid and it was top of funnel marketing. So we do free coloring page digital downloads. You have to join our email list to get them. Our free digital downloads are so freaking cute. They're some of the favorite things that we put out. But we did find on Pinterest that people love free coloring pages.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a top search term. So it's not worth us putting in the work to do a ton of organic content around that, because it's actually cheaper for me in the business side of things to put $20 a day in advertising to promote our free than to delegate someone to do 8 to 10 posts a day organically internally. So like kind of just like trial and error, but then really assessing like what makes the most sense. Is it $20 a day spent, or is it 12 posts a day organic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that's just me, once I get in a routine, like I love a routine, I love structure, all those things. And so 90 days for me, I'm like, if it's built in my routine, I'm good. Like, it doesn't get boring to me in 90 days. And then if it's working at the end of 90 days, it's working and then it's still exciting. So we keep doing it. So I think, yeah, just like the drudgery of knowing that it's not going to last forever. I will also say I've learned to not take on more than one test or try in a 90-day period, because it will become too much and I won't be able to see it through. So like when I brought on TikTok to test and try for 90 days, that's all we were bringing on. When we were brought on email, we did that for 90 days, but that's all we brought on at that point. When we launched subscription boxes, that's all we did for 90 days. And so I don't take on a lot of different things. And actually, I read a book called What the Heck is EOS? I was like, what's that book called?
You keep telling me about that one. Yes. Okay.
And it's all about trying to figure out like what they call them rocks in your business, like the main things that you focus on. So we have 3 rocks, but they call them rocks. And then the subtasks under your rocks are pebbles, because the thought process, and I think this is such an easy visual for me, is that like you start kicking pebbles down a hill and they're going to start rolling. And eventually you're going to have so many pebbles rolling that you are going to be able to roll a giant rock. And then once the rock's rolling, you have so much momentum that everything behind that becomes so easy. So getting the momentum is hard, but once the momentum is going, it's easy. And so it's like getting the momentum going for one of your rocks. And then actually what happens is your other rocks also start being easier, but then you also have to get this one going and then eventually this one going. And there'll be times where I'm like, oh, that momentum's not going anymore. And we'll like sit back and we'll be like, which of our pebbles is broken? What's not working right now? What have we let fall off? Like, what are we delegating time to that we shouldn't be because it's not moving the needle? Like, I'm all for working smarter, not harder. No, thank you. So, trying to figure out like, if that's not working, like, do we need to try something else or do we need to get rid of it? Like, that's fine too.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. This is super helpful. I feel like we're in a coaching call right now and I appreciate it. I'm selfishly like, great. Okay, everybody. But I think that it applies to if you're in business, but also it can apply to everyday life. Maybe you try, if that's a dietary plan, you're wanting to take something out of your diet to know if you have a food allergy or something like that. Like, gosh, even if like that's overwhelming, you try 60 days, like, but you give it a good set amount of time to actually, and put the energy behind it and not try to overdo all the other things. Cause I find myself trying to do all of the things at all of the time. And then I just behind the scenes, you guys, I called Shanti last week with like a meltdown going, can't do it, because then my brain doesn't know where to focus on any one thing. And so then I just pick up my phone and start scrolling because I just don't want to do it. It becomes too hard. But if we simplify and really say that this is what it's going to be, then that makes more sense and that's manageable to take on.
Yeah. I mean, I also have all of our rocks and pebbles on a whiteboard. And there's also this other thing called like the whiteboard method, where it's like, if you put it on the whiteboard, you're going to make it happen. I listened to a lot of the Scrubs podcast during the pandemic, and they always joke. They're like, put it on the whiteboard. Like, and we're talking about like big stars, right? That are like directing and in like huge movies. And they always joked, they're like, some of their dream roles, their dream co-stars, their dream directors, like they weren't ever able to make it happen. They were always like, put it on the whiteboard. And you know what? Like through those years of me listening to it, do you know how many things they put on their freaking whiteboard that they wanted for like decades that they had made happen because it went on the freaking whiteboard?
No
and
way.
I think about that all the time. I'm like, there is something so powerful about not only writing something down, but looking at it every day, because it's in the forefront of your mind of like, I want that so bad. And you just like do a little tiny something every day to make that happen.
Wow, that's powerful. And now I want to go get a giant whiteboard for my studio.
Yeah, the whiteboard in our like one of the room that we use is like our main office and like conference room is so giant. It's giant.
Yeah, I have lots of wall space. That's going to happen for sure. Wow. Okay, mind spinning. Okay, can we go back to one question that I have that I think a lot of people, if you are a maker, are probably thinking the same thing. So I get when your thought process is saying, okay, Pinterest, you figured out that that's a completely different way that you're posting the content. But I think when people hear you're posting 3 to 4 times a day, they're like, holy cow, that's a lot of content. Do you repurpose content between platforms? Are you specific? Do you have certain content that works on one platform versus the other, i.e., like, let's just say TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts?
Yeah. So at the height of last year, we were doing 27 pieces of content a day. We have reeled that back. Now, by the time we were doing 27 pieces of content a day, it was me as a CEO and also a full-time marketing person. So when we gotten to that point, initially, I was still creating 100% of the content. And prior to her coming on, I was still doing probably 10 pieces a day myself, running 2 businesses. So you can definitely do it. I bulk create content. So I will have 1 or 2 days a month that I bulk create content. And then we have 1 day a week where I will do voiceovers, reply videos, things like that she brings to me and is like, or like, hey, this trend is, and I think it could work for us, right? So those are like 15, 20 minutes that we set in 1 day a week for me to do. But for the most part, we do bulk creation of content in 1 day. Now she creates half of our content and she also bulk creates. She's actually ready for me to get out of this room so she can have it for bulk creating content today.
Not yet. We're not done.
So I bulk create content and I will do an entire month worth of content. So I have all the raw videos. From there, I've heard this so many times, and especially recently, I've heard it a lot, that TikTok content does good on Instagram, but Instagram content flops on TikTok. It is a different voice. It's a different experience that people want. It is a different everything. And people on Instagram are open to TikTok style content, but people on TikTok are not open to Instagram specific style of content. Instagram is very beautiful. It's very stylized. It's very the aesthetic, right? Aesthetically pleasing. TikTok is so raw. They want they want it raw. They want it real. They want it authentic. And people on Instagram, I think what that content that does resonate with them, it's because they're so used to seeing the aesthetically pleasing, like, oh, why can't I be that mom? Be that mom? Why can't my kitchen look like that? Why can't my desk supplies look that beautiful and be like that, color scheme? And then you see something so raw and authentic, you're like, thank God, right? Like there's real people out there still, right? And I think that's why it does resonate better. So if you're considering doing TikTok, I would not take really beautiful content from Instagram and try to put it on TikTok. It's not going to work. So on TikTok is what we create most of our videos kind of for, very like raw, authentic, talking heads, coloring videos, things like that. We take those raw videos and we edit them in different ways for different platforms. So they might have different voiceovers. They might have different text. They might have different call to actions. Everything on TikTok is like head to TikTok shop, buy it now, click on the orange cart. Like it's very like a closed loop, super easy thing. On Instagram, that doesn't work. They have to either like chat a word for us to send them a DM with a link to buy, or they have to shop on Instagram, which is also not always the best user experience, or go to our website and like click on this, like it's a different thing.
It's a lot of steps.
So we repurpose content, but we use the same raw videos and we edit it differently for different platforms. Then there's also content that's specific to Instagram and specific to TikTok. So like sometimes there's viral trends that we just follow on one platform and not the other. And then on Instagram, we do also bring in photos and quotes and other like still content, carousels, things like that just do not do well for us on TikTok. Even when we try to dump them into a template on CapCut and make like a really cute video with like lots of photos, they still don't do well for us on TikTok. So like we just don't do them, but they do well on Instagram. So it is just kind of, it's learning what your community on that platform wants and delivering it to them in their voice so they feel seen and heard.
I think it comes back to what we said earlier. You're still listening. You're listening to your customers, and your customers are different in each place that you go. And while that could seem overwhelming, that's also awesome because you now have different customers on all these platforms that we have the ability as makers and small business owners to reach. And so just take that second to listen and adapt slightly so that you're able to deliver the content that, and the products that people are looking for.
Yeah.
I think that that's just a great reminder. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground and I probably could sit here and talk. We might need a part two. I mean, we might need to do a part two because this is just a lot to take in.
Wait, how often do you publish this podcast? Once a week-ish?
I've been a little behind, but try to do every 2 weeks.
I was going to say, can we make this a weekly thing? And then I was like, wait, it would just become the Courtney and Shanti podcast.
Listen, I have always wanted a talk show. That is my dream, that if someone had given that to me right when I got out of college, I would be in broadcasting. That's it. So you may have just started something there. Maybe this becomes something that is more of a whole show. Shanti, wait, now my brain is spinning. Okay, sorry, I digress. This is what happens when you get the two of us together. Y'all should hear our voice memos back and forth to each other. But what I definitely want to wrap up with, at least for today, is just what has you excited right now in your business? We've done so much and we didn't even get into the full scale of, achievements and partnerships and collaborations that you've been able to do with some pretty incredible celebrities and stars. So what can you share with us is next with your business?
Okay, so in the very immediate future, we just were brought on as a arts and participatory partner for World Pride, which is being hosted in DC this year. So I'm very excited about that. One other thing that I'm very passionate about in my business is providing representation in coloring pages for people that don't get representation in other ways. So we have a whole line of LGBTQ plus coloring pages and pride celebration pages, things like that. So we're really excited to be coming on for that, which is happening at the end of May and early June. And then I also was just invited 2 days ago. I haven't even said anything about this in the mastermind group yet, but I was just invited 2 days ago to meet with a bunch of policymakers and legislatures with TikTok's head of policy share my story as the success that I've had because of TikTok Shop as a small business. So
that's awesome.
Right. Also
you have to get on a plane again.
No, it's here in Austin. So it's
even better.
It's all Texas policymakers, but it's such an honor to be able to go share my business and also explain to them as we're at this time where TikTok Shop, is it going to or TikTok, will it be banned? Will it not be banned? Whatever. I'm I want to share and explain to them that I am not the only success story. Mm-hmm. There are thousands of us on TikTok Shop, small businesses that are thriving because of TikTok Shop, because their algorithm's so powerful that they are able to get us to our exact community who need and want our product.
Mm-hmm.
And if they go away, it's only in my benefit to help them share these stories, right? And so then along with that, for the month of May or June, I can't remember, TikTok PR team is going to be reaching out about doing an op-ed on just highlighting success stories for small businesses on TikTok Shop. So that's really exciting. We have a bunch of new products coming out in May and then through the end of the year that we're testing and trying different things that I'm really excited about that are still going to make people's brains happy in the same ways, but a different product. So yeah, it's really exciting. I don't know. There's always something happening.
This has been such a fun conversation, and hopefully people will take away that it's important to be an early adopter, to not be afraid to try something in anything that you're doing in life. Give it that trial run, but then remember that you're worthy of doing it, that we can all do it if we just push ourselves and think that there is light and joy out there for us.
And if it doesn't serve you after being an early adopter, walk away, y'all. Mm-hmm. You have that power.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's path forward and journey is different. Find what resonates with you and do that. And I think that's what's so powerful about the group that we're in, the mastermind group, is like Instagram is your jam, TikTok is my jam. But like our brains work differently. There are people who like have hugely successful businesses that only sell wholesale, or they don't do any social media, but their email marketing game is strong. Their SEO is really strong. There's people who still rely on blog posts and they drive so much traffic to their websites. And I'm like, that is so amazing. Like everyone can find, when you find what's like truly authentic and easy for you, I think that is when things can start happening instead of trying to follow the path that someone else took, right?
Amen to that. We don't have to all do the same thing the same way. We can gain insight from each other. We can feel motivated by one another, but it doesn't have to be the same path. And that's awesome. And that's how we commingled, found our way to each other. And now we're going to start a show, guys. So, drop your comments for what that show is going to be called, because it's going to happen. Because you need one more thing on your plate. Just going to throw that out there.
Oh my gosh. It's fun.
Okay. Tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on TikTok.
Duh.
So our handle on all socials is A Brighter Year. So you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest if you want to get delivered paid ads, YouTube Shorts. I don't know. We sell on TikTok shop, obviously. We also sell on Fair if there's anyone that like is a boutique owner, or, we do wholesale accounts. And then we also sell on Amazon Prime. And then our website is abrighteryear.com. I think that's all the places. I feel like we are all the places. So you can probably find me there.
But guys, if for any of you that are listening haven't gone and checked out, whether it's social media or on the website, everything is just beautiful and bright and cheerful, and you're going to just absolutely love it. So go get this for yourself and just make your day a little brighter. Okay, I guess we got to give the room away, huh?
Yeah, we do. Let her make some content.
All right, fine. Well, I'll let you know if there's a part 2 coming.
I mean, I'm here for it.
Thank you so much, though, for taking your time out to chat and to just share the wisdom. You're always so willing to help somebody else, coach them through anything that they're doing. And I think that just speaks to your character. And I'm just thankful that you're in my life. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yay. All right. Go have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the show this week. Please make sure to click the follow button on your podcast app so you never miss a new episode of the show. And remember, if you want to nominate a small business artist for an upcoming episode, send an email to the address listed in show notes and let me know all about them. Until next time, stay creative.